The presidential race just took a huge new turn today with Vice President Joe Biden jumping into the Democratic primary. This is a huge crowded field now, 20 candidates, but Joe Biden has the name recognition, a longtime Democratic senator from Delaware. He was vice president for Barack Obama, President Obama, for 8 years. We know him. He is not a new candidate that we're like, well, who the heck are you? Like Mayor Pete Buttigieg, right? We're all learning about this guy. It's exciting to learn about Mayor Pete. He's fantastic. We love him. But boy, we sure know Joe Biden. And this is a huge new twist in the presidential campaign. I'm super excited for Joe Biden jumping in. There's a lot of data here to go over. But one of the things that I think is super exciting about Joe Biden is he's a lifelong public servant. He has committed himself to helping the people of the United States of America. And by the way, he's the guy who at any time could have hung up his hat and said, I'm done. He's had family tragedies. He's put in his time. He's served us for decades. And I'm just telling you, this guy saying, you know, I've got to get into this race. I've got to be part of this. We need to get rid of Donald Trump, and I'm willing to do that now, is all the more exceptional. And I want you to listen to the beginning of the video that he released this morning to announce his campaign, because he doesn't waste any time. He doesn't say, hey, I'm Joe Biden and this is who I am. He goes right at President Trump. Take a listen. This is from Joe Biden's announcement video this morning.
Charlottesville, Virginia is home to the author of one of the great documents in human history. We know it by heart. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. We've heard it so often, it's almost a cliche, but it's who we are. We haven't always lived up to these ideals. Jefferson himself didn't, but we have never before walked away from them. Charlottesville is also home to a defining moment for this nation in the last few years. It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. Their crazed faces, illuminated by torches, veins bulging, and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. And they were met by a courageous group of Americans, and a violent clash ensued. And a brave young woman lost her life. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides? With those words, the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it.
And we all remember that very clearly, that the president hesitated. He said very fine people. He waited, and then he apologized, and then he condemned the neo-Nazis, the white nationalists, the white supremacists in Charlottesville. Because I know the right really is trying so hard to say, he didn't do that, he condemned him. Yeah, later. He hesitated. We all saw it with our own eyes. We all heard it with our own ears. And you're gaslighting by trying to change the reality, Trumpublican right-wingers. It's ridiculous and it's wrong. Now, when you look at the data from like 538, for example, in the polls, it's interesting. He beats Bernie Sanders time and time again. Joe Biden does. This is across the average of the polls. Joe Biden is outpolling Bernie Sanders. The average is 28% Biden, 20% Sanders nationally. In key states like Iowa, it's 25-18 Biden over Sanders. New Hampshire, 23-16 Biden over Sanders in one, and Sanders beats him in another. South Carolina, Biden over Sanders, 32-14. Nevada, Biden over Sanders, 26-23. Basically every early poll, and it's name recognition. It's not that Bernie doesn't have the name recognition. He sure does. But people like Mayor Pete Buttigieg, don't show up. He doesn't have the national name recognition. Senator Kamala Harris from here in California, she just doesn't have the national name recognition. Everybody knows who Joe Biden is, and he appeals, what's so interesting, to a very broad range of people. And that is ultimately important because, as I like to say about Joe Biden or anybody in the Democratic field, what matters is we have to win in 2020. I don't care about purity. I don't care about who has the most perfect set of policy proposals. That's not what matters in 2020. What matters is getting Trump out of office. What matters is returning to some level of normalcy in the world. What matters is saying dictators bad, allies good. We haven't had that since Trump took office. He loves Putin. He loves Kim Jong-un. He loves people who do horrible things. He doesn't love our allies. He doesn't love democracy. He loves dictatorships and autocracy and control and manipulation and lies. Oh, but the economy's never been better. And that's a long trend line that Barack Obama started. Oh, but the market's done so well. And again, that's a nice long trend line that Barack Obama started. So I don't need Trump for that. I don't need Trump's hatred leading us and leading the world. It's bad news. By the way, I love that, like, Congressman Eric Swalwell, such a neat guy. I hope he gets on the stage. And he tweeted out a congratulations to Joe Biden jumping in, and I responded yes. And Eric Swalwell, he's so good about responding to people on Twitter. So is Congressman Ro Khanna. Just some really wonderful people right now who are trying to make a positive impact in our country. And I love that. I love the breadth of the candidates. Now, one of the big things about Joe Biden is going to be his age. And I think that that's a valid question. Will he have what it takes to be president? He will be, should he win, 78 years old when taking office. Americans are not fond of that. 62% of general election voters say they'd have reservations about voting for someone older than 75 in a recent NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. That's a lot. So, and he's not a long-term super progressive candidate. He's not a Mayor Pete Buttigieg. He's not a Bernie Sanders. He's not actually Pete Buttigieg is kind of more of a centrist nowadays in light, he's not an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who's apparently not happy about Joe Biden jumping in. I just love it. I love the competition. I love the ideas being thrown around, and I can't wait for somebody to win the nomination. California voters, by the way, which is now an early primary state, first choice for 26% of voters, but 35% of voters thought he was the most electable. This is interesting. Most electable. 13% of California voters said they thought Biden had the best policy ideas. I'm telling you. Elizabeth Warren maybe has some of the best ideas. I don't think she beats Donald Trump. I love Elizabeth Warren. I think she's an amazing senator and she has great ideas. I think pretty much everybody on the Democratic ticket, well, I don't know some of them, so I can't say that they're all wonderful, but Kamala Harris, senator from California, I think she'll be a great vice president. I think that she's the ideal pick. Should Joe Biden win, she should be the vice president. I think that's an amazing ticket. Joe Biden, Senator Harris would be amazing. That we're talking power ticket. Biden knows how to take on President Trump. He scares President Trump. Trump's already given him a nickname. It's hilarious. And it's really impressive to see that the president's scared of Joe Biden, and that's all the more reason to support Joe Biden. And Senator Harris knows how to argue. Boy, she's a former prosecutor, attorney. She knows what she's doing. She'd be a great advocate out there. So Joe Biden has one issue, and that is his touchiness. I want to share you a story that somebody sent me straight on his touching people, because I know this is a big one for a lot of people in the Me Too era. And I agree. I had my reservations about Joe Biden. I used to make fun of him as well. Here's the deal with Joe Biden. I had somebody who knows him and his wife very well. I can't tell you more about this individual. Shared with me what they know. Joe and his wife and his whole family are huggy, touchy people. They always have been. So when he hugs people, when he touches people, it's not from a place of being weird or creepy. He's doing it from a place of that is how he connects with other people. This person knows the Bidens very well. That's as much as I can tell you. but that is what they said to me, is that this is the whole family is like that. They're all huggy. They're all touchy. They've been through major tragedies, and this is their way of connecting and supporting one another, and that is how he's done it. Now, he's addressed it, and he's talked about the fact that he will dial that back. I approve. What do you think of Joe Biden in the race? Let me know your thoughts. Comment below. Send me your thoughts on social media. Send me your emails as well. leftcoastnews@ethanbehrman.com. Thank you so much for listening. Please click like, share with 3 friends, and subscribe.